everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be dialing in from around the world. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, Embedding the CX, Good for FIs, Great for the Customer, presented by Data's Insights. I'm Michaela Bernier, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Before we start the webinar, I'd just like to cover a few quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar will be recorded, and a link to view the recording on demand will be available after the session. Please feel free to submit your questions using the questions feature located in the GoToWebinar toolbar to the right of your screen, and our speakers will answer them during the session. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's speakers, Enrico and David. I'll turn the mic over to Enrico to introduce himself and jump into today's content. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Carla. Hello, everyone. I'm Enrico Camirinelli, Strategic Advisor at the Commercial Banking and Payments Practice at Data's Insights, and I'm joined today by my esteemed colleague, David O'Connell. This is our proposed agenda for today, and I'm going to speak on the first bullet point on banking as a service and embedded banking, giving you an outline of my latest research. And then David will take over, focusing specifically on actually the topic of today's session, which is related to the customer experience and embedded lending. So where is my research up to now when we speak about banking as a service and embedded banking? Those of you already have followed other webinars, I think you are familiar with this picture, but the more I present it, the more it seems it validates what is the current ecosystem. So the players in the banking as a service and embedded banking space, and I will make clear very soon the difference between these two terms, are the following. So if we start on the far left, we have what I call the originators. So large or small banks and also neobanks. So any entity, any firm that holds a banking license is part of the originators. Then you have a second group of participants, so-called the intermediaries or the enablers. And these are typically software companies or fintech companies that can be either only, let's say, technology providers, or they might also hold an electronic money institution license or payment license. So the difference is that the EMI licensed fintechs, they can move money, they can hold, let's say, electronic wallets, but they don't have the full banking license. So they are somehow the intermediaries, as the term says, between the bank license holders and the other group of participants or players in the ecosystem that I will continue describing. We have the group of the distributors. This is the way that McKinsey calls them, and instead of inventing new terms, I prefer what actually has become a sort of common de facto term. And within the distributors, we have, again, financial institutions that hold a banking license. Typically, these are tier 2 and lower regional community banks and still the neobanks. We have still the fintechs, whether they are holding or not a payment license or an electronic money license. And we also see another constituent, business-to-business marketplaces. The reason for this is I clearly explained it in one of my recent reports, where actually speaking with banks, I see the more banks with the whole, let's say, embedded banking proposition, their objective is to get closer as much as possible to the customers. So instead of waiting for the customers, in this case, the corporate customer, to go to them and consume the APIs that, application program interfaces that banks typically expose on their sort of web catalogs. So instead of waiting for corporations to go to them and access the APIs, banks see that it's much better for them, for their business, to go them to their clients. And business-to-business marketplaces tend to be a nice way to funnel the bank capabilities to a community of corporate users, large or small, that operate on a marketplace. This could be marketplaces. Also, Amazon is a marketplace, or we go on other marketplaces like SAP Ariba or others, where you have companies that buy and sell and exchange and share purchase orders, sales orders, catalogs, inventory orders, and quality inspection documents, certificates of origin, And the missing part, which is the financial component, is what the embedded banking proposition offers.
Datos Insights.